Peace to y'all, man. You know, just so we clear, this is Pitt versus Notre Dame, man, 2005. Positive energy to all y'all. Thought I'd show some love. Give y'all an assist. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Peace to y'all. Easy.
They started the Peterson Event Center this afternoon, but the Oakland Zoo is ready to roar. Some of them started lining up yesterday afternoon for the best available seats to today's Big East matchup between the Panthers and the Irish.
Popping, y'all. Pitt played Notre Dame at 8 o'clock tonight, so
rivalry.
Start y'all off with the first one.
How connected are you to generations of tradition?
Positive energy to y'all.
How deep is your passion? Through tears and triumphs, rivalries reveal it all. Don't be left on the fence.
Welcome inside the sold-out Pete. That's a formality. They always sell out this beautiful new building for Pitt Panther basketball, but they've got a tough one on their hands here today as the Notre Dame Fighting Irish come to town, all a part of Rivalry Week, presented by Cisco Systems. And the significance of this game, Pittsburgh and Notre Dame are two of the 7 teams in the Big East who feel they've got a chance to do a lot of damage. And don't count out West Virginia just yet, but you can see how deep and how congested the upper portion of the Big East Conference is this year. A lot of talented teams. Hi, everybody. Welcome inside the Pete. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore with you. We saw firsthand on Tuesday, Notre Dame is talented. They beat previously undefeated Boston College. What does that win mean for Mike Bray's squad?
Well, Notre Dame is a team that's on the verge. It's 6-4 in the Big East, and of those 4 losses, it's been by a total of 18 points.
At work.
Now, they've got to learn how to win close-game situations. That's the key to a stretch run. They're 2-2 against ranked opponents.
Yes, sir.
The BC win was a huge confidence builder.
Fourth consecutive game against a ranked opponent for the Irish. So much talk this year about point guard play, and 2 of the best in this game here today.
Well, Chris Thomas, always a prolific scorer. He's got to be on. Notre Dame struggles when he's
our work going good, Cook Slow.
West, what up? Averaging 17 points, 8 assists over the last 6, and Pitt is 4-2 in those games.
49th meeting between these two schools, the Irish with a slim lead, but recently Pittsburgh has held the upper hand, including winning the only 2 games we have left between these two schools in this building. And this is a tough place to win. Pittsburgh is 47-3 all time in this building, but 2 of the losses this year to Bucknell, of all people, and Georgetown as well.
Well, that's been a case of focus, and I think Jamie Dixon really needs to get his team to understand that against lesser opponents, they just can't throw,
I see the game. Y'all see the game good?
They've got to be able to play the game the way they play best.
Should I zoom in a little bit?
The Irish control the opening tip. Notre Dame thrives on the 3-pointer. The guy with the ball right now, Colin Falls, hit 7 of them Tuesday in the win over Boston College.
Well, Pittsburgh opening up in man-to-man. Look for Notre Dame to try to establish an inside presence early. That's going to make it awfully easier, I should say, for Notre Dame's perimeter guys. That's the strength of their offense.
Jordan Cornette looking inside for Torin Francis. And we'll have a fresh 35 now for the Irish as we set the starting lineups for you. Chris Thomas better than 2,000 career points. The senior making his 120th consecutive start for Notre Dame. Carl Krauser, the point guard, and Chevy Troutman having an all-Big East caliber season for the Panthers. Chris Quinn with a 3, and the Irish score first.
And that's one way to establish the inside game, attack the offensive glass. And a little inside out, giving Quinn a good look from beyond the arc.
3 dangerous shooters and 2 pretty good big guys for Notre Dame. And now Pittsburgh, Carl Krauser being defended by Quinn.
Both of these teams primarily play man-to-man, so look for them to sprinkle some zone in. They've had some success against teams playing zone.
Troutman setting the screen. Now Troutman's going to look for the ball as the shot clock is down to 6. Krauser's got to make the play.
What up, y'all? What up?
Kendall can't get a shot off. Krauser with 1 left on the shot clock. And the long rebound.
It's good. Positive energy.
Long bounce pass to Falls. And again, landing inside out. That's what you were talking about before, but this time it doesn't drop.
Well, inside out allows the shooters to catch facing the basket, and their momentum carries into the basket. They get good play and good elevation on those jump shots.
The Irish attempt 22 threes per game. Only West Virginia among teams in the Big East.
Comments, I had them down. I said,
4 threes per game than Notre Dame. Mike Gray's had so much success in Notre Dame his 5th year, 3 NCAA bids and an NIT bid last year. They don't want to go through that experience again. And he feels that win over BC, it might help offset that disappointing loss they had to Syracuse last Saturday. Prior to that, they beat UConn, so they're right in the midst of the toughest part of their schedule. Jump hook no good for Taft, but he gets the rebound. Antonio Graves for 3. Rebound Turin Francis.
Peace, James. All love, my dude. All love, James.
Notre Dame.
Facts, all
the
love.
inside storm as well as having a little bit of
Pitt play Notre Dame tonight, so I'm liking to show some games. X up all day. I appreciate you, man. Right back at you, family. X up.
And Chris Taft comes down to the rebound. Both teams cold from the outside early. Here's Krause, the junior, but 23 years of age. And I don't know about you, Len, I was so impressed with his demeanor in practice yesterday as Troutman muscles it up and in. And it really all begins for Pittsburgh with Krause and Troutman.
And you talk about practice yesterday. Siobhan Troutman is a guy who is playing tremendously this year. And you know why? When you watch him practice, he works extremely hard. He was the one guy that broke a sweat very early. So you know he's worked on his game.
Jordan Cornette misses a 3. Notre Dame 1 for 5 from the floor. Krause turns it over. If there is a problem for Krause this year, it's been turnovers. He's committed more than anybody in the Big East.
So that was Taft's fault. Taft has got to be ready. You're in that paint. You got a guy like Krause penetrating. Get those hands ready for the pass.
Man, appreciate you, James, man. Miss them shoes too, man. I miss them too, brother. Facts. Always love.
Bench wanted a foul call there, didn't get
appreciate you tuning in.
Taft will go out. Aaron Gray comes in, a 7-footer.
Notre Dame again trying to establish inside presence with Turin Francis, but that sent a little bit of message right there.
These joints used to be loud.
And we haven't seen Chris Thomas look for his offense so far, letting the game come to him, involving others, as he did at the beginning of the BC game on Tuesday. But now it's time to get started.
He's been around long enough to understand that his job is to get other people involved first after putting pressure on the defense and pushing it. But when the shot clock starts to tick down, as a creator, he's got to create for himself or others.
He's already 4th on Notre Dame's all-time scoring list, better than 2,000 points as Kendall is fouled inside. A nice feed from Troutman. Kendall, 6'9", redshirt sophomore, has gone from barely playing to becoming a starter in the wake of Yuri Dimitris's legal problems, no longer playing with the Pitt program. And Jamie Dixon tried a couple of different people, and Kendall is the guy who's worked his way into the starting lineup at the small forward position.
Well, Levon Kendall's not going to absolutely wow you with statistical numbers, but he's fundamentally sound on both ends. He gets the most out of his skills. He'll work hard on defense. He'll hit the open shot on the offensive end. And, you know, surprisingly, a decent rebounder on there. And he likes to strip the ball a little bit. So he'll do a lot of little things that just won't show up on the sheet.
Well, at 6'9", he may pose a problem for 6'5", Colin Falls today. He's not going to have an easy time getting open looks.
But you got to get out, though, and cover. That's the deal.
Pittsburgh back within 1. Francis double teamed by Gray, and Troutman got his dribble back. Double dribble. He thought the ball had been touched. Mike Gray thought Francis had been fouled, but it goes back over to Pitt. Jamie Dixon, his 2nd year as head coach at Pittsburgh. For the 6 previous years, an assistant here. Of course, Ben Howland built the program up. Jamie Dixon just keeps motoring along.
That's not a bad start. 84% win percentage.
Gray. Nice move. No. He turns it over. So both teams struggling a little bit offensively at the outset. The Irish up early by 1.
By Cisco Systems. This is the power of the network now. And in part by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade.
Here in Pittsburgh, along with Len Elmore, I'm Dan Schulman. Notre Dame leading Pittsburgh by a point early here in this afternoon affair. Tuesday night, undefeated at the time. BC marched into South Bend, and the Irish shot lights out. 11 for 20 from three-point range, a career high 7 of them from Colin Falls. Chris Thomas had a stellar game with 19 points, 9 assists, and did not turn the ball over as the Irish picked up a very big win, handing the Eagles their first loss of the season. Greg Smith really struggled in the second half with Notre Dame's 2-3 zone, which we might see at times today. Foles and Thomas had very big games for the Irish. Kind of a signature win this year for Notre Dame. They've also defeated Connecticut. They've also defeated Villanova, so they've got their some nice wins on their resume already.
Two things that stick out in that game is Notre Dame was outscored from the field and out-rebounded by 8. But it was the three-point shooting as well as the fact that they limited their turnovers. Only 9 turnovers, only 1 between Thomas and Quinn. So you take care of the ball, good things will happen.
Dennis Lattimore travels after a nice feed from Colin Falls, so the Irish turn it over. Lattimore is the transfer from Arizona as an active member of the Notre Dame team. They list him as a senior, but that's academically. He's got one more year to go. Ronald Ramon has come into the game, the freshman from the Bronx, number 4 for Pittsburgh. Did not play against West Virginia last weekend. Did not play against St. John's Tuesday because of a right shoulder injury. Krauser misses the 3, rebound to Notre Dame.
And Dan Ramon, huge key for Pittsburgh coming off the bench. You know, the bench has been scoring in double digits on average. Ramon averaging almost 9 points a game. And without him, 6 points in the last 2 games from the bench. A lot of pressure put on those starting 5.
Both of these teams at times they'll be very efficient offensively. At times they'll struggle to score. So to get a guy like Ramon back can really help the Pittsburgh offense. Now Notre Dame struggling to get a look as the shot clock winds down.
And that's all about the Pittsburgh defense.
And Mike Pitts has a foul underneath, and I think it's going to be Lattimore going over the back trying to come back with the rebound.
But Pittsburgh doing an excellent job of stepping out on screens, hedging the shooters, not allowing them to really get
Which one was overrated?
Right there,
Chris Thomas?
Falls, a step out by Gray, forces him to give it, and then
Chris Quinn
obviously forced to take an off-balance shot.
Jarin Francis out, and Rick Cornett in now for the Irish. No relation to Jordan Cornett. Irish by 1. Both teams very low scoring, not shooting the ball well at all here in the first 6 minutes of the game. Notre Dame is 2 for 8. And Pittsburgh is 1 for 5. Krauser for 3 over Quinn. And Krauser with the familiar X sign for the Bronx as he gives the Panthers a 2-point lead.
Let's go.
Against a tight Notre Dame defense, doing many of the same things that Pittsburgh's doing on their defensive end.
And Gray reaches around and is called for the foul. Let's go back down to the other end of the floor then.
In Pittsburgh, it's all about patience. There it is, inside out. Once again, able to square up is Carl Krauser from the pass to Aaron Gray. And as you mentioned, hollering out to the Bronx folks.
Let's go,
He's fun to watch in the games. He's fun to watch in practice as well. Very vocal, very supportive of his teammates, but at the same time, really trying to get everybody to pick it up a notch as well. A good leader. Troutman trying to feel for Cornett on his back. Goes right at him, uses the glass. Troutman's second field goal of the game.
I'll tell you what, Sheldon Troutman has mastered that hesitation move. He gets in the air, locates the defender, and hesitates before he shoots it, draws the contact, and still able to be strong enough to get it up on the glass.
And as good as anybody, Leonard, getting the job done against bigger people. He's one of the shorter power forwards playing in the Big East. Lattimore missed, Pitt on the run. Ramon from the baseline. The assist to Krauser.
Oh, yeah, Jamie Dixon, definitely.
Gives you a lot of energy on the offensive end. Another threat out there on the floor from beyond the arc.
And a 9-0 run right now for the Panthers after
Let's
the Irish
what up,
5-2 lead.
All up. What up?
Lattimore got Troutman in the air, but he missed the 6-footer.
Peace to y'all.
And now a foul is going against the Irish.
And Dan, you mentioned Siobhan Troutman so tough inside. Watch the hesitation right there. Locates the defender and then gets it off. Makes the contact and just hesitates just a moment as the defender starts to come down. And able to still get the shot off.
We talked about it. I think it was during the Syracuse game here a couple of weeks ago. Power forwards. You hear about Gomes and you hear about Warwick, and they're great players. And I asked you then, I'll ask you again now, does Troutman deserve to be mentioned amongst those great big forwards in the Big East?
With the season he's having right now, 15 points, 8 rebounds a game, he deserves first team. Wasn't even mentioned in the preseason, all the Big East selection.
Who you got tonight? They starting to play. Starting to play. Still need to get that clown out of hell, yeah. They gotta get that clown out of here, man. That's a foul, damn. Yeah, they gotta get that clown out of here, man. That's a fact. Super clown. He's definitely a bug, man. We don't need him, man. We don't need him. I hope we get him out of here. You know I'm going for Pitt, you know that, but I know they're gonna lose against Notre Dame. They might go old conference, man. They might be old conference. D Brown, X up, what up, Bronx down.
He's already over 2,000.
How you doing, the kid?
30 away from 800 assists. Tapped with the left hand. Rebound Rick Cornett.
Word, sounds a clown though. That's comedy.
120 consecutive starts in a Notre Dame uniform for Thomas. That's a school record. Quinn, who loves that little cheer drop, left it a little bit short. Ramon comes out of the scrum. Off the fingertips of Travis.
My brother, I appreciate you, man. Good looking, y'all. The original.
Take us home with some Chris Thomas on us.
Appreciate you, man.
Chris Thomas's ability to shoot the ball, but he's very adept at making other guys better.
Fuck this, man.
Ready to.
Nobody care about that Chris Thomas shit.
Maurice Ager and the Spartans looking to do some special things still this season.
How you think we gonna look though? You think we gonna win tonight? 8 o'clock game.
Jamie Dixon was telling his players
you think we might lose?
about all the ball screens that Notre Dame will set, and Chris Thomas is going to try to run Carl Krauser ragged around the floor. Right now, Pitt comes up with a turnover, and it's back into the hands of Krauser. Looking for the offense early, missed the three, tap no good. Ball situation, the arrow will keep it with Pittsburgh.
There's one of those guys off the bench, and Keith Benjamin, young man keeping it alive on the glass.
Benjamin into the game. Neither team shooting the ball well at all so far early in the game. Ramon, he can shoot it. Some of the Pitt folks will tell you
facts, man. All up, Skip. Yeah, facts, James, man. I'm telling you, there's so much more, man. I don't be lying about that stuff, man. It's just what it is. I see through all they bullshit every time, and they don't like it. Those people are so full of shit, it's unbelievable. Clearly, too. A lot of stuff in the game you can see.
He's just going to make a little circle cut.
It's crazy.
Using the screen by Taft. And again, able
still
to
nobody's gotten better. They just got more minutes to prove that they can play. It's still coming.
Bronx, New York. One of a number of guys from New York City here. There's a pipeline going on. And you mentioned it again. Tremendous shooter.
Another open look.
Got him.
On cue, huh?
8 points already for Ramon.
Got him.
The Irish are doing. They better start doing something differently against Ronald Ramon.
Jeff Caton needs to be eating pork and beef. He's on the bridge somewhere. He's a bug. I'm dead. Oh, shit.
Again, you talk about Ramon, his ability to find open spots on the defense. You know, hampered by that shoulder injury, he looks none worse for the wear.
It'll be interesting to see if fatigue becomes an issue for the Irish backcourt. There are 3 perimeter guys play just about the entire game. You mentioned the New York City pipeline that has existed here to Pittsburgh the last 4 or 5 years. Guys get recruited, they show up, and they meet a bunch of guys that they already knew from high school or AAU. They all know each other. And there are 5 contributors on this Pittsburgh team who come from the greater New York City area.
And it helps that these guys have played with each other, played against each other. It helps for the continuity for this Pittsburgh program.
Antonio Graves, and it's Pittsburgh's biggest lead.
And he shot that shit in his face. What up, yo? What's good? What's up, y'all?
8-0 run right now for Pitt. Let's revisit that New York City pipeline because they've all been a factor. At least 4 of them have played so far here today, and Ronald Ramon out of the Bronx has been maybe the biggest factor in the game.
And the biggest reason, obviously, is maintaining ties. The one guy solely responsible for these New York City players coming to Pittsburgh, Barry Rorson, right there. Barry's name has been on a number of short lists as far as new head coaches and may continue to be so. But
maybe Coach K will hire him. Coach K is going to retire.
You know, he's got that personality. You know why these kids flock to him.
He oozes New York City, doesn't he?
No,
8-0
he
run for the
doesn't.
Panthers after an earlier 9-0 run. A 10-point lead. Don't forget about the big game of the night. It's rivalry week presented by Cisco Systems. Rolls into the evening. J.J. Redick and Duke trying to avenge an earlier defeat
His coaching put us all
John
to sleep.
Gilchrist and Maryland. Duke also coming off a 1-point win over North Carolina midweek, but let's not forget that Maryland
That's what his
won
coaching
at
does.
Cameron earlier this season. The game day crew will be there beginning at 8 and the game begins at 9.
I tell you what, the Blue Devils have to come in feeling really good about themselves in a tough win against North Carolina. And Maryland knows that the win in Cameron doesn't mean anything if they can't hold service at home.
Another Notre Dame turnover. A run out now for Troutman. And it's all Pittsburgh here at the Pitt right now.
And you talk about Shamon Troutman's skills. That was one of them right there. Be able to race at full speed, catch the ball in a crowd, and then be able to take it home. Kind of reminds you of
what up, SP?
Peace.
Peace.
As he strips the ball
Positive
away.
energy.
If basketball doesn't work out on the professional
Rocking in
level,
the Pete.
there's some NFL teams who are thinking about him as a tight end.
Let's go,
You
Pitt.
got San Diego, and Antonio Gates is one of those guys that's kind of set the trend. A big, strong power forwards playing tight end. And Shamon Troutman is a prototype.
Graves, 3 not there. Rebound Francis. Francis has had a ton of touches inside, but hasn't been able to finish, or he's been stripped of the ball.
Well, what Terrence Francis has to recognize is he's got to take a little more patience when he receives, and his teammates have to clear the guys capable of stripping the ball.
With the extra pass, Cornette in the corner, knocks down the 3. He's only 24% from out there, but that 3 snaps a 10-0 Pittsburgh run.
Well, Cornette not shy about taking it. I guess that's the most comfort he has on the offensive side, to be able to step beyond the arc and shoot the jump shot, primarily a shot blocker and
Come on,
defender.
coach, put me back in the game.
Troutman, and a foul call against Notre Dame.
Man, them boys
It'll be
be hacking,
Jordan Cornette as we step aside. 9-point lead Pittsburgh. After
He
this
tried to
break,
kill
an
him real
update on
quick.
another Big East game going on right now. Syracuse and Villanova.
It's a game to go before halftime. Big schedule today on ESPN. We're in the A-10 at 2 Eastern, Richmond and GW. 4 o'clock Eastern, always a great one between Michigan State and Michigan. Game day at 8, and of course the nightcap, Duke, Maryland, 9 Eastern, guys.
All right, Scott, thank you. Talking about that Syracuse-Villanova game. Both
Let's
of those
go!
teams ranked, and both of those
What's
two
up, Sing?
in the top half, if you're in the top 7 at least, of the Big East standings. And we've got Notre Dame and Pittsburgh both competing for position
always
right around
look
today.
like
West Virginia's
Duke.
at Georgetown. They're both
Like
competing. How do you
Michigan.
separate these teams?
No,
sir?
that's comedy.
Well, they're going to have to play each other. They're going to have to find ways,
Hey,
obviously, to get
man,
into
that's
that
just
top
wild
5.
out there.
Everybody wants that bye going to New York.
I used to
for the
wanna
Big East
play in
tournament. As we
Duke
know, no team has ever won the
University.
Big East championship playing
I
4
wanted to
nights.
play in Camden.
And if you look at the
I want to
schedules
see how
that
that
all these
gym
teams
was.
have
They
played
was
and
too
will
scared
play,
to
not
play us,
everybody
though.
plays an equitable
Too
schedule
scared to
because
play
there are
us.
12 teams in the Big
Still
East, and the
respect.
way that the league has paired it up in the last couple of years, Len, in order to get as many good TV matchups as they can. Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Connecticut, and Syracuse all play each other twice, which cannot be said for all of the other teams. Obviously, Pittsburgh has the bulk of their toughest games still to come, including road games at BC, at Villanova, at Notre Dame, and at Syracuse on Big Monday, this coming Monday night. The Panthers will be tested in the next few weeks.
Well, absolutely, and I don't think they have it any other way, but when you talk about inequitable, I think because of the parity in the Big East, that it really doesn't make that much of a difference. There are a ton of teams out there capable of beating folks. We saw West Virginia upset Pittsburgh. We see Villanova now really starting to make a move.
Yep. Notre Dame hoping to use the BC win Tuesday as a springboard for them, but not playing very well here early, shooting just 30%.
Right now, the ball's just going east-west. No exploration inside. There you go.
Rick Cornette trying to come up with the offensive rebound, can't do it. Chris Thomas, a great play to come up with the steal.
Well, good anticipation by Thomas after the miss to come back, but poor outlet passing by Pittsburgh.
Another missed shot, though. Thomas on the floor again. Pittsburgh basketball. Well, that's a lot of effort expended by the Irish in an empty outcome.
Well, they've had their opportunities, and that's why, again, a little bit of dejection on the face of Chris Thomas. It still comes down to the fact that too much reliance on the perimeter game. Not enough ball movement now for Notre Dame.
We're here at the Peterson Event Center, sold out as always. The rabid Oakland Zoo behind us for this game between Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. A couple of the top teams in the Big East. First meeting of two this regular season between the Irish and the Panthers. The Irish not shooting the ball well at all. Ronald Ramon, a couple of big threes off the bench for Pittsburgh so far today. Aaron Gray inside for two more. And it's now 25-12 Pittsburgh.
Well, Aaron Gray averaging 5 points, 3 rebounds in about 11 minutes per game. So he's efficient as they come.
Quinn gets a look. That's as clean a look as they've had in about 6 or 7 minutes. And Quinn knocks down his second three. There's Quinn, a 42% shooter from beyond the arc. I mentioned the possibility of fatigue earlier, especially Thomas and Quinn. They hardly ever come out of the game as Krauser. It's his second three of the game.
Shot the shit out of him. See, pull that gun out.
But they're a good three-point shooting team this year.
Well, they certainly are. Sixth in the nation at 41% from beyond the arc. And you wouldn't think about Pittsburgh being that effective from beyond the arc.
Quinn follows his own miss, uses the glass, and he's got 8. Quinn and Thomas have combined for 12 of Notre Dame's 17.
You know, talking about Pittsburgh's capability in shooting the threes in the past, you know, you think of Pittsburgh as a really lockdown defensive team.
This dude, Len Elmore, be hating, yo.
A lot of added dimensions on this particular team.
You gotta make them show
them, in the long run, a better team equipped to go further than the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament.
Gone are Jerron Brown and Julius Page, but players getting playing time or more playing time this year. Ramon, Graves, Kendall, Gray.
Nice move, Tone.
There's one of those extra options right
Euro
there.
Tone.
Graves, he's now got 4.
He's another guy that gives them that offensive diversity.
Boy, Irish have no diversity right now. What they have is Quinn. He's got 11, and he's the only thing keeping Notre Dame in the game. And he's always looked like he's about 15 years old, but Mike Ray said, don't let that fool you. He'll cut your heart out if you give him a chance.
Well, certainly, and the thing about Chris Quinn is that Notre Dame needs him to be more aggressive. As we see here, tremendous range from beyond the arc, the ability to put it on the floor and break defenses down. So he's done a terrific job on that end for Notre Dame by himself.
My man, this and that. Yeah, he be hating on me crazy, man.
Back into the game is really made his presence felt with a couple of early threes.
Well, we talked about the need to have energy
hating.
off the bench offensively.
And then try to show love
and
on
Ramon gives them just that. Yeah, he's a great guy to be able to find floating around beyond the arc and shooting a mid-range jumper. And as we mentioned, the bench is so important for Pittsburgh. In the last 2 games, Ramon's been injured. Only 6 total points in 2 games. He's got 8 by himself today.
Right, and look at the lineup Pittsburgh has on the floor right now. Jamie Dixon has sent out Graves, who's a starter, Kendall, who's a starter, but neither one of them played a whole lot last year. And then Gray and McCarroll and Ramon, who all come off the bench. This is what Pittsburgh can now do. They have discovered they're a deeper team than perhaps they thought. Here's Kendall going into the post. Jump hook, no. Weak side rebound, Gray. Notre Dame's basketball. The Panthers don't like it at all.
Man.
Complaining to one of the other officials about the call, but it'll stay with the Irish.
We'll take a look at Gray battling down low. The ball goes up on the glass. Goes off for Gray's hands, and Quinn never touched it, it looked like. So therefore, the official made the call on the spot, and it was a good one.
Falls back into the game for the Irish, replacing Chris Thomas, who goes out briefly, I'm sure. He's averaging in Big East play about 39 minutes per game, as is Quinn. Falls, knocks down a 15-footer. That is his 69th field goal of the season. 62 of them are threes.
So you're trying to say it's rare. Rare that he ventures inside that arc.
He doesn't mix it up with the big fellas here very often. Right now the Irish will take any offense they can get just to try to get back into this game. Out of bounds is Troutman and Kendall misconnect. And now a bit of a momentum shift in favor of the Irish. Rivalry week presented by Cisco Systems. We got a good one brewing between the Irish and the Panthers here at the Pitt.
For the butter, what up, boy? How you, family? You alright?
Flock to see the games of Chris Taft. You and I have had him a few times. He's had a real up and down kind of season, hasn't he?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there are times when Chris Taft is invisible. With his talent and skill level, he should be dominating. There's no question about it. Now, he needs some help. His teammates have to play with him, but he's got to show the fire necessary to establish that dominance.
The Irish trying to establish Francis inside again. Taft is defending him.
Now, to Chris Taft's defense, literally, he's got a tough defensive matchup with Corinne Francis. And that doesn't mean that he can't handle both ends of the floor. He's got the skills to do it.
I think a lot of folks are starting to realize there's another Chris on this Notre Dame team, and it's Chris Quinn having a monster game.
Go.
Carl Krauser with the best answer he can think of. It's a long two for Krauser. And Pittsburgh is back up by 8. Krauser now has 8. Cornette into Francis, isolated on Taft, tries to
Give me that.
Had it blocked. Notre Dame retains possession, 19 on the shot clock.
Well, Carl Krauser, we said he sets the tone, and here he is offensively, just gets 1 foot in front of the line, but nevertheless able to break people down with his ball handling skills, and that improved jump shot has really made him a dangerous customer.
Francis now fading away from the basket on that jumper.
Let's go. What up,
Francis,
Jim?
despite a lot of touches by Notre Dame standards for an inside guy, has been unable to convert so far.
Well, he has had a lot of difficulty getting loose because of the double team. That time, Chris Taft has got to meet the ball. He was about to make a move before he caught, and turns into a
Got a lot of family. What up, boy? How you?
Defender for the Irish. Russell Carter for 3.
Always love, family. Act up. How you and the family?
To spell one of the perimeter guys. And the 6'4" sophomore
love,
knocks
family.
down the 3. His 8th 3 of the season in 16 attempts, and the Irish are back within 5.
And it's guys like Russell Carter that
Where young family at right now? He in Syracuse still, or he somewhere else?
And Chris Quinn. And right there, no hesitation. He gets Krauser to back up a step just with the ball fake, and that gives him a little bit of daylight.
Embarrassing. That's
More
embarrassing.
great college basketball.
Oh,
coming your way
he's
here today.
scored.
Rivalry week presented by Cisco Systems. A big game between 2 of the top teams in the A-10 West, Richmond and GW. And then at 4 o'clock Eastern today, number 12 Michigan State makes about a 40-mile trip to Ann Arbor to take on the Wolverines. And remember, Tommy Amaker's depleted bunch gave Illinois a real battle last week, so they figured to get up and give Michigan State a tussle this afternoon as well. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Well, Notre Dame, as we mentioned, they love the 3. Hit 11 of them in the win over BC on Tuesday, and 5 for 11 already here today. That last one by Carter has earned him a couple more minutes maybe. Chris Thomas is still out. And in a Big East game, you almost never see Chris Thomas out for 2 or 3 minutes.
Well, I think that 3 by Carter gave Mike Bray more confidence to be able to rest Chris just a little bit longer. Nice pass.
And Taft will go to the line for 2. Thomas does not have foul trouble, by the way. He's just getting a
Calling
rebound.
that thing out like
And
Gary
Mike
Payton
recognized
out
that
that
Jamie
thing.
Dixon on the other end has been
Orchestrating that
able to
thing
give
like
his
GP.
guys a rest on the
That
floor,
love.
his main players. And that's how really Notre Dame was able to regain a little bit of momentum with just about all the starters for Pittsburgh on the bench.
Taft-zilla.
At that time, we had a great opportunity to see Siobhan Troutman's ability to pass interior.
Chris Thomas, as we mentioned, 4th in career scoring, and if not today, then at some point in the next week or so, he should pass Pat Garrity and move into 3rd, the school all-time leader in assists and steals. Mike Bray says, if you're going to judge Chris Thomas, judge him the same way you judge me, the coach, by wins and losses. Don't look at shooting percentage. Look at some of the other things he does to help his team win games.
And I would agree. I mean, you know, Chris Thomas, there are times when he's had to carry the load by himself.
Carter kept it alive against Pittsburgh ball. So we're kind of getting a look at the Irish of the future right now. Chris Quinn's got 1 more year, and he'll inherit the full-time point guard role, although he handles the ball a lot even when Thomas is in there.
He handles it well, too. Almost 3-to-1 assist-turnover ratio. And for the amount of minutes that he plays, that's phenomenal.
Final minute now of the first half. Pittsburgh leading by 6. Troutman turns Cornette around, doesn't finish. Rick Cornette comes up with a rebound.
Well, Jordan Cornette got a hand on that ball, a nice stuff of Siobhan Troutman, and that's what Jordan Cornette can bring to the ball game. Terrific interior defense.
He's on pace to be Notre Dame's all-time leader in blocks. He'll pass to Alfonso Ellis shortly, and now he knocks down his 2nd 3 of the game, and Jordan Cornette has become a big factor here this afternoon. A nice run by the Irish here after Pittsburgh's lead was as much as 13. 13-3 run Notre Dame right now.
Notre Dame has got back into it with the three, but also some really timely defense.
Man, better stop that shit.
As well as answering with 3 pointers.
You see just a couple of seconds difference between game clock and shot clock, and that won't matter anymore as we have a foul on Notre Dame.
Let's go. What up, Coach Jones?
Get to the rim.
Jones,
In the
let's
last
go.
year or two, a lot of times Krause wouldn't have that opportunity because no one honored his ability to shoot the perimeter game.
Second foul on Cornette. Just the 6th team foul. So no free throws yet for Pittsburgh. The Panthers, by the way, have committed only 1 foul this half. That's not very Pittsburgh-like. Shot clock turned off. Final few seconds. Krause.
Hey, come on, it's a foul.
Irish might have a chance to get something off here. Quinn from about 50.
That's a foul. What a move, Magic.
First half at that, as Carl Krauser finishes the half in style.
And again, when you can put the ball in the hands of a creator like Carl Krauser, very confident.
Hey, foul.
Off the bounce.
Little kiss.
Krauser with 10 in the first half to lead the Panthers. Chris Quinn, the high scorer in the
That
game
old
with
black
13.
man.
Pittsburgh up by 5. Time now for the UPS
that
halftime
was
report as we
nice.
send you back to Scott
Peace,
Reese.
peace, positive
All
energy.
right, Dan, thanks very much. Entertaining first half there at Pittsburgh, 35-30. Panthers looking for their 5th win in the last 6 games. Coming up.
Positive energy.
Melt away.
Minute.
Personnel.
Out. This game.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Alka-Seltzer. Break up the full feeling of indigestion and pain with Alka-Seltzer. And DirecTV. DirecTV is rethinking the way television should be.
And welcome back to Pittsburgh, everybody. Continuing coverage of Rivalry League presented
What's
by
good,
Cisco
fam?
Systems. Dan
Peace,
Schulman and
peace.
Len Elmore with you here at the Peterson Event Center.
What's
A very
up, what's
competitive
up?
first half.
Salute, y'all.
Pittsburgh leading by 5, and it began Len with Pitt getting a real spark from Ronald Ramon off the bench.
Well, that's when Pitt made their move. Ramon provided an awful lot of energy. And this is a young guy, again, that comes off the bench. He's ready to shoot the 3 when you get the opportunity. Gives them another guy
Appreciate you,
in
my
that
dude.
offensive
Appreciate you.
diversity
Always
that
love,
Pitt has
y'all.
developed. And he really made his
100%.
presence known. But Notre Dame came back and
Positive
did a nice
energy,
job.
At one point, Pittsburgh was up by 13. How did Notre Dame get back into this game?
Well, Jamie Dixon substituted liberally at a point where he wanted to give his guys rest, and that's when Notre Dame started to find the range.
Let's take a look at our game track now. And again, it begins with
What
Ronald
up?
Ramon
Hey,
showing the back
cousin,
bench.
all love. Happy old gift day.
No, he certainly
Love
had a couple
you.
of games
Love
to
y'all.
rest his, finding his spots on the floor.
Positive
But
energy.
when
Love
Jamie
y'all.
Dixon went to his bench and took out the
I'm gonna get some
defenders,
cooking
you see
recipes.
guys losing sight of
I see you
Chris
chefing
Quinn
up
in
over there on the
particular.
page. I gotta get
Notre
some
Dame
cooking
made the
recipes.
comeback, but Carl Krauser stemmed that momentum.
Hey,
He's a
that's up.
breakdown artist. He'll force you to play his 3, and if you play that, he's going to get around you on the bounce.
And Notre Dame actually played the last 4
What's your
minutes of the
number?
first half with
What's
Chris
your
Thomas
number this
on the
game?
bench.
Number
His
11 on the white
offense
team.
got
Appreciate
much
you,
more
cousin.
arrest than he normally gets. And Russell
Always
Parker
love.
was 5
Facts.
for him, hit a big 3
Love my
to
cuz.
bring Notre Dame back. So it's Pittsburgh by 5.
Yeah, I'm
The
number
Irish
11
lead
on the
with
white
possession in
team,
the
man.
second
One of
half.
the guards, darkest
Chris
one.
Thomas on the bench for the rest of this half. Unless
Pass the
he
ball
gets
with your big ass feet.
It's still
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh basketball game, isn't it?
Yeah, a little disjointed, a lot of physical play, bodies bumping, and that's the game.
Francis turns it over again. That's the 4th turnover committed by
This was a
Francis,
crazy
who has
game.
not scored in this game. Ramon getting the start here in the second half in place of Levon
Z,
Kendall.
what up?
This is his first
X
shot.
up. Wait.
Cornette from the corner. Hit a couple of threes in the first half. Francis with the offensive rebound. Colin Falls, by the way, 0 for 5 from three-point range today after hitting 7 Tuesday against BC. Chris Quinn is keeping the Irish in it. He's got 16 points.
And again, Quinn.
Now, how
uses
much
some
you have,
screens
points,
to
assists,
roll
steals?
the
Oh, chill. I can't get out of it right now. The game's still going,
A
champ.
double-figure scorer
My
for the 10th
dude.
consecutive game. He's averaging better than
Appreciate
12
you,
points per
Ferry.
game on the season. A contested 3 by Krauser. Rebound falls, and after being down 13,
Hold on, hold
Notre
on.
Dame to tie or take the lead on this trip. Jordan Cornette, no, and Taft will be called for the foul. We'll keep it at this end of the floor.
Well, again, we're talking about Chris Quinn, just pure catch and shoot. As Thomas's penetration draws the defensive end. And here's Terrin Francis. He's going to go and post up. But watch the attention that he's going to get. Troutman peels back, and Francis has got to be more patient with the ball. Take the double team, then find the open guy instead of trying
100%, 100%.
Thomas left hand rolls out. And the rebound to Krauser, who, like Thomas, averages about 5 rebounds per game.
I appreciate you, fam. We got you. Laid off. What up? My dude, what's good? Always love, y'all.
Spotting up for threes. Your natural instinct is to peel back into the paint, and these guys are stepping up on the perimeter.
Francis, and good defense by Gray. A bigger man, he just stood his ground, hands up in the air, did his job.
Absolutely right. That's picture perfect D by Aaron Gray.
Make it 7 points for Graves.
Oh, love. Chilling, watching this joint vibing. Since Pitt played Notre Dame at 8 o'clock tonight.
Hanging in thanks to their outside shooting.
And that's such a tough matchup for
I thought this was a different one. I thought this was a different Notre Dame game.
He's okay. And when you match him up against Chris Thomas, he's got to step up and make Thomas put it on the floor.
Well, Krauser had to work hard for that shot. Chevy Troutman, the offensive rebound. Tipping it up again. Now it comes down to Francis and the Irish. Well, Chris Thomas, even though Notre Dame lost both games to Pittsburgh last year, scored 52 points
How you and the
in those 2
family?
games. Cornette for 3. Rebound Krauser. Troutman.
Oh, this
Got the ability maybe to be a tight end. That pass a little bit behind him.
No, it
give him the benefit of the doubt
wasn't.
there.
Well, take a look at Chris Thomas under the basket with Graves right here. As they step around, he's just waiting for a screen, and he gets it from Terrin Francis. And Graves has got to step up closer. You've got to almost belly to Chris Thomas, not give him any room.
Ramon with some quick hands and feet almost comes up with a steal. Francis has gone out. Lattimore has come back in now for Notre Dame. The Irish have not led since early in the first half. And a whistle away from the ball. Mike Kitts with another call going against
Chris
Pittsburgh.
Thomas was nice, bro. Me and the fam Gucci. All love. Yeah, he was a good player, man.
So they're going to
I'm
bump
glad
you.
y'all
They're
good,
going to
definitely.
knock you off your path to the spot you want to get to.
Aaron Gray with a block, but it comes down to Thomas from the corner. And the Irish have the lead.
On
Thomas
cue,
should have
Chris
been
Thomas.
able to get it.
That was a tough break for Pittsburgh. Again, Gray with a good block.
That McDonald's game with him and TJ Ford was classic. I remember that word. I used to play against TJ Ford too, AAU. Word.
Graves sensing a little
I
room,
did
kicks
very
it back
well.
out to Krauser. Now Ramon for 3.
Him and Donald Ewing.
Panthers all over the offensive glass. Gray with a miss, but he's fouled. And that might be their lead. Mike Gray's biggest concern coming into this game. Can they keep the tough Panthers off the glass?
Well, it's going to be very difficult because
That's
that
my
time
man.
they were
I like
in a
TJ
2-3 zone. And if you're an offensive rebounder, you lick your chops when you see a zone coming. You know, Pittsburgh a little bit confused around the perimeter. You know, a lot of open shots present themselves, not necessarily good shots, but they have the confidence to take them because they know against the zone, their big guys will go get them.
Aaron Gray knocks down the first. Senator lost 30 pounds over the offseason. It has picked up, in effect, some backup minutes that Torrey Morris, a senior last year, departed senior, had. So Gray giving them a solid 8 or 10 minutes a game off the bench. Knocks him down, Pitt back up by 1. This is a typical Big East game. More than any other big-time conference in the country, I've got to believe that this league has more close games. Almost 60% of the games in the Big East this year have been decided by 7 points or fewer. This looks like it's going to fall into that category.
And that's why when people argue about the unbalanced schedule and this team plays this team twice, etc., you know, you throw that out the window because there's enough parity in this conference where every game is a tough game.
Nice feed from Quinn to Cornette, and he got fouled. Chris Quinn made all that happen. He's having a sensational game here today, getting a little help from the other Chris Thomas, who has knocked down a couple of threes here in the second half. Notre Dame down 1 to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. The Panthers leading the Irish by 1 in a very meaningful game in the Big East Conference. As you look at the top 6, 7, 8, wherever you want to make your cutoff right now. Syracuse, by the way, up 14 at Villanova. West Virginia's at Georgetown. The Hoyas quietly having a good season. But Pittsburgh and Notre Dame used to being in the top 3 or 4 of this league. This league is so good and so deep this year. I mean, you lose a game, you're going to lose ground to 3 or 4 other teams.
Well, absolutely. And again, they're fighting for that top 5 spot. And Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, right there on the border.
And the reason that's why I say schools are fighting for a top 5 is St. John's is not going to be playing in the Big East tournament, part of the self-imposed ban due to some problems there the last couple of years. So 11 teams will go to New York City for the Big East tournament. The top 5 will get a first-round bye. And then the 6 will play 11, 7 will play 10, 8 will play 9. And that'll set you up for the quarterfinals beginning on the Thursday. But you're looking at second-round matchups. You could have Syracuse, UConn. You could have Notre Dame, Pittsburgh playing not in the semis, but in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament.
Yeah, somebody's going to go home disappointed.
And early.
Wait for Selection Sunday.
Is this a league that can get 7 teams into the NCAA tournament?
Well, if you're going to go purely by the RPI, they already have 7 teams in the top 50. Oh, that's great.
This is 2005. 2005, yo.
Again, you talk about making teammates better. First, we're talking
Craig
about the Big East
Smith,
teams in the
that
RPI
league.
top 50. And again, you talk about power conferences. If you need objective proof that the Big East belongs right there with the ACC and the Big 12, there it is, folks.
Pittsburgh and Syracuse, mostly Pittsburgh, with a much weaker strength of schedule than all the other teams. They didn't play
He made it to the league
that
for a little
many
bit.
tough games, perhaps outside conference play, and also both of them closed with very difficult stretches within the conference. Gray comes up with a steal as Thomas turns it over. So by the end of the year, Syracuse and Pittsburgh's strength of schedule will both be much better. Krauser all the way. And Jordan Cornette called for a push, and that is his 4th foul, and Mike Gray is livid over on the Notre Dame bench.
Well, Mike Gray was upset because the call came late. It looked as though they were waiting to see whether or not the layup would go in. Here's Krauser right there. There's the push-off away from the shot. The push from Cornette on Siobhan Troutman.
Troutman blocked by Terrain Francis, got it back. Knocked away by Quinn. Troutman gets it back again. Boy, they had Gray open for a moment and didn't see him.
And Aaron Gray really playing big on both ends. We saw the dunk, then a steal.
Graves did not go up strong with that one. Kind of a finger roll from about 5 feet away.
And that's one of the big problems when guys get in the paint. They try to finger roll. In other words, go palms up instead of going palms down. Antonio Gray is athletic enough to elevate at least to the rim and go palms up. Shot.
Lattimore and Francis in the front court for the Irish with Cornette on the bench with 4 fouls.
I'm sorry, palms down with a much stronger shot.
Kendall has now returned to the game for Pittsburgh. Did not start here in the second half.
Krauser doing a nice job of cutting Quinn off with no penetration, but you gotta find this guy. Once again, Antonio Graves locked in on Chris Thomas, but gives him too much room.
Chris Thomas's 3rd 3 of the game. Career low scoring and shooting numbers this year for Thomas. Recovering from off-season knee surgery, but he was outstanding against BC Tuesday and playing just as well here today.
The scoring may be down, but his ability, as we mentioned before, to make guys better is as high as it's ever been. And again, 2 guys off the bench in Kendall and Gray.
And then Krauser with a steal, couldn't finish. Pittsburgh back up by 1 as we go back and forth. Folds knocks down his first 3. The guy who hit a career-high 7 in the win over BC Tuesday. His first 3 of the afternoon, and the Irish are now up by 2.
And I meant to say, obviously, Levon Kendall is a starter, but a recent starter.
Timeout, Pittsburgh. Notre Dame leading by 2. He saves it. Exactly 11 for 20 against BC Tuesday. 11 for 20 with a lot of time to go here today. It was Quinn early, then Thomas. Now Falls has hit one. Cornette's got a couple. And Notre Dame, which once trailed by as many as 13, up 2 on the road here in Pittsburgh. Nice look here for Ramon. Off the fingertips of Lattimore. He saves it to Francis. Great hustle play by Lattimore. Falls. Morris can't leave him that open. Misses the three. Rebound Ramon. Krauser hollered for the ball. Ramon gave it up. Krauser wanted to go right to the rim. Rebound Lattimore. Krauser got knocked down. Play continues.
Notre Dame playing Pittsburgh's game. Very physical on both ends.
Chris Thomas just not missing right now. His 4th three of this half.
And you combine that with Notre Dame's battle on the boards, 16 second chance points. That was the thing Mike Bray was most concerned about, whether or not these guys would compete, particularly on the offensive glass. And I'd say, so far, they've been doing a pretty darn good job.
Biggest lead of the game for Notre Dame. Ramon, the floater. No. Tap the tip. Ramon, the rebound. And a fresh 35 for the Panthers.
Well, Pittsburgh right now, particularly in that shot by Ramon, rushing it a little bit. Uncharacteristic of them, very patient, very poised on the offensive end, even when they're down.
Very big game for both teams, with Pittsburgh now entering the toughest part of its schedule. Notre Dame about to emerge from the toughest part of its schedule, playing a ranked team here today for the 4th game in a row, something the Irish hadn't done since the 1978 NCAA tournament. Ramon, another miss. He's now missed his last 5. Kendall and Francis with a held ball. Pittsburgh will have possession when we come back. The Panthers are getting tested here on the previous game a week earlier against Connecticut. 2 huge wins for Pittsburgh this year.
And they were able to do it on the shoulders of Siobhan Troutman and to an extent Carl Krauser. And they did it with defense and rebounding. But right now, they're losing the perimeter shooters for Notre Dame. And they're not really winning the battle of the boards as far as Notre Dame is concerned on the offensive glass.
Terrain Francis blocks the shot of Chris Taft. Pittsburgh going to stretch now with Carl Krauser on the bench. Taft without a field goal in this game. And he's going to get yanked out of the game as Aaron Gray comes back in. And this is kind of in the story for Taft. He'll have monster games and have games where he's not really a factor.
And Gray really has made his presence known. He's made a couple of mistakes, but he's made more good plays than not. And with his big body inside, and he's playing big, he's been very tough on Pittsburgh right now.
Francis knocks it away from Gray. So Troutman is there. The other 2 big scorers on the season for Pitt, Taft and Krauser, are on the bench right now. So who's going to be the go-to guy? Who's going to get the offense started here this trip?
So it all begins inside out, and Gray doing a nice job right there.
Shut up. Just kept the zone. Rebound.
What up, DXD?
Gonna go right back up
Wave. Come on, let me wave. What up?
What Jamie Dixon wishes
what up, Ryan?
Would do. Be able to handle the ball smartly inside and then hit the offensive glass. Gray got to look away with a little bit of a push-off right there, but he's still on the glass making things happen. Look at it happen right here, using his left arm, just gets Terrain Francis off balance just a bit. But he's been very aggressive on that offensive glass. And maybe Chris Taft sitting on the sidelines will get a little bit of perspective there and come back with a vengeance.
Carter called for the foul, his second. Chris Quinn will go out. Colin Falls returns. Cornette in for Francis as well. As you look at kind of an empty afternoon offensively for Chris Taft. He does have 6 rebounds, all of those coming in the first half, though. And 1 of 2 for Gray. Pittsburgh having to play from behind right now after leading most of the afternoon. Beat the Irish twice last year.
Accept, boy, my dude. Watching this game, man, before Pitt play at 8 o'clock. About to get smacked by 50.
Which is now in its 3rd year, and again, it's been hostile territory for the opposition. Pitt 47-3, all time at the Peterson Event Center. Thomas got away with a hold on Krauser and runs him down and knocks the ball out of bounds. Good hustle with the defensive end by Thomas, but I think a lot of people saw what we saw, that he just grabbed Krauser, and now the officials saw it.
Well, they had to be surprised Carl Krauser so quick to the ball on that rebound.
Ramon. Look at the bodies flying. Jordan for the rebound. Krauser still down behind the play. Carter travels. Krauser just now getting up in front of the Pittsburgh bench. He looks like he took a shot to the mouth.
Well, that's the double-edged sword in playing the way Pittsburgh plays. Play a physical game, and officials, I guess, call themselves allowing the players to play. Actually, his own man knocked into a Mark McCarroll.
Man, that's crazy, yo.
who's playing with 4 fouls, might have thrown
2005, Ryan. 2005. My teeth got knocked down to my tongue, man. My canines got stuck in my lips. Both top and bottom. I had to pull my teeth back, pull my lips out of my teeth out of my lips, I mean, excuse me. And then go change up.
Pittsburgh's bench really gets tested. John DeGroat in the game.
That joint was crazy. Mouth was crazy. Bloody. Had to go get stitches and sutures after the game.
From the flu lately. Nice jump hook for Aaron Gray, who recently, here in the second half, he's become the go-to guy at the offensive end. He's got 9.
Yeah, man, that joint hurt having your teeth knocked down to your tongue. And you can't move your tongue. And shit's trapped until you reach in there with your fingers and pull them back out.
Thomas really looking for his shot here in the second half.
No dental work either. No new teeth.
And a push in the back. Carter got called there. It'll be Pittsburgh ball.
Yeah, we have a chance to take a look right there. I think McCarroll really trying to get to Cornette and block him out.
Cornette pushed him, man.
Cornette pushing him, but not enough to really cause the accident. That was nearly.
See the holes in my lips? My lips are bleeding. The holes in my lips.
That foul was on Graves of Pittsburgh.
Shit is crazy, man.
For pushing off,
Stuff I endure.
As Krauser continues to get attention on the Pittsburgh bench. As tough a kid as there is in this league, he'll be back in as soon as he's able. Falls lost to DeGroat for a moment.
Oh,
the
foul.
defense has
Definitely.
to rotate, and as a result, DeGroat has to commit the foul.
It's that platinum uranium ever.
Like when his arm
Nobody
got pulled there,
did
he
it
might
better.
have gotten a tug on that right shoulder.
Well, again, when DeGroat fell right there and lost Falls, that created a scramble defensively. And a good rotation by DeGroat. Actually, a pretty good foul. You don't want to give up the easy one. You want to make Corinne Francis earn it. And DeGroat's not out there very long, so he wants to use those fouls.
And Francis definitely felt something.
Talking about the real Black Panther. Who you with? The real Black Panther. Brother, what up? Bless, peace, positive energy, you and yours.
Junior college player, and Pittsburgh was expecting some pretty big things from him, but hasn't really found his spot in the rotation yet.
Well, he started the season in their opener against Howard University with 11 points, but as you mentioned, not a lot of time since then.
1 of 2 for Francis. He, like Taft, having a quiet day offensively on the inside. Notre Dame by 3.
Again, this is going to be about playing as a team. No real one-on-one specialists on the floor for Pittsburgh. They've got to be able to execute, use screens, and then hit open shots.
It will drop for Ronald Ramon. And he's going to the line as well.
Oh, man.
Talk about your shooter's bounce in the hometown gym.
And again, with excellent ball movement, Ramon on the fade. Chris Thomas getting there late. And that's what created a foul. The fact that Thomas couldn't get above the screen to follow his man on the fade. And as he runs at him, he makes contact.
Pittsburgh back on top. Ramon now with a dozen. And the Oakland Zoo going wild here at the Peterson Event Center.
And right now for Pittsburgh, only one starter on the floor.
Let's go. We getting wild, baby. Getting wild.
This is how big the Pittsburgh
Double R with the radar. You already know.
Win with a big first
Double R.
Since the break as Thomas is taking over more.
Absolutely.
Thomas from 17.
They holding it down while I'm out. You know what I mean? You gotta hold it down while the vet is out.
Chest and hands it off to Ramon, who's taking over at the point with Krauser out with the injury, and Ramon says, let's.
I can hear this in the back while I'm changing my shorts and shit. I can hear all the loud screams. I'm like, I gotta get back in. Whoa, holla! Holla! AKA Mark McCarroll. QB.
Mark McCarroll converted some big passes
last year. Christ the King University. I mean, Christ the King School. High school.
Getting beyond his man is Jordan
MVP in the championship. Captain School.
McCarroll, a 6'10" senior from Queens.
I was there.
A hamstring problem, a concussion, and a knee injury this year. He's a dreadful free throw shooter, just 4 for 21 this season. But that was his big
What's up, E?
basket.
Positive energy, X up.
For the Irish, here in the second half, it's been threes or nothing at all. As Mike Gray.
What a game! What a game!
On top. Well, more great rivalry. Rivalry Week action presented by Cisco Systems coming your way tonight. It concludes at 9 o'clock Eastern. J.J. Redick and Duke taking on Maryland, led by John Gilchrist.
Shout out to my dude, all love, family ED. Shout out to John Gilchrist, my dude. Shout out to J.J. Redick, my dude. My two people. Shout out to y'all. Always a good time around you fellas.
I mean, this is a team that's got terrific
Let's
talent,
go, Pitt.
but they've been up and down. You know, they beat Duke at Duke, then they get waxed by Clemson at Clemson.
Even though y'all ain't want to play us, Duke.
Overtime, and losing home to North Carolina State. So this is a team that really hasn't shown what they're capable of doing. Duke, on the other hand, terrific win at home against a Carolina team that most people say will be in the Final Four. And I think they're going to be playing with extraordinary confidence, knowing that they've got payback opportunity against the Terps.
And you talked about how Pittsburgh has found guys on the bench who have done what they needed them to do. How about DeMarcus Nelson stepping up for Duke in the win against Carolina?
Well, I've always liked DeMarcus Nelson. The one weakness in his game was his ability to shoot beyond the arc. But I'll tell you what, he's improved that as well. Take a look at Pittsburgh bench production today. And again, you're finding two guys, particularly Aaron Gray. Ronald Ramon, we know he can score. Got him started in the first half and developed momentum for Pittsburgh. But Aaron Gray playing big.
Ramon with a steal from Quinn.
Cookies.
4-on-2. Graves for 3.
Hey! I told us go, boy. That was fire right there. That was hot.
Pittsburgh bench that's doing it right now.
Look at double off face. That was funny.
Returned after the timeout. Krauser still on the bench with a cut lip. Taft has not played well, and he's been on the bench a long time.
Antonio Graves, the only starter out there, but primarily it's the bench. Oh, Sonny Chapman
Just back in. But they started this run without Troutman, without Krauser, without Taft. I've never seen
That means we prepared them well. Maybe I prepared them well.
Shot clock at 2. Thomas got rim, rebound, Kendall.
Tremendous defensive effort by Pittsburgh that time, forcing Notre Dame to take the off-balance shot once again, not allowing them to get into their sets, taking away the options, forcing Chris Thomas to try to break the defense down.
Doesn't Ramon look like he's been playing college basketball for 4 years already?
Well, he's definitely playing confidently, and I think a lot of that has to do with, again, playing against Krauser and Graves and practice day in, day out.
Yes, it did. Preparing me, man.
Offensive rebound and a hold calling on Lattimore of the Irish. Living up to its reputation, rivalry week presented by Cisco.
ESPN, baby. You see the jersey. Let's go, Tone. Gator. Let's go, Tone. RFJ. That was fire. That was a great look.
Somebody else is on the bubble. If the committee sees that they beat you twice, that's not a good way to get into the NCAA tournament. But Chris Thomas and Mike Bray, they've got to be pleased with the wins over Connecticut and the win over BC. But almost every Big East game, as you mentioned earlier, tough stretch or no tough stretch, almost every game looks like a pick 'em when you actually throw the players out there on the floor.
Well, Notre Dame, those 4 conference losses were by a total of 18 points. They've got to learn how to win the close game situations. But what works in their favor is the fact that coming into this game, they're 2-2 against ranked opponents.
Carl Krauser has returned to the game now for Pittsburgh after missing several minutes. A teammate of his shoved into
back
him
in the building. What up,
on
fam?
the inside of his lower lip.
Let's go. What up?
Knocks him down. He's got 10.
Let's go.
Lead to 8 after Notre Dame took a
Say
5-point lead earlier
I'm
this
back.
Coming back from a 14-point deficit. So we've had a lot of runs in this game.
And it's been about the role players playing smothering defense, forcing Notre Dame really out of their sets. Getting them to a point where they've got to be able to play one-on-one, which is not their game. Everyone except Chris
Gotta
Thomas.
roll. Have a good night. All right, man. Peace, man.
Strong rebound to Francis. Falls for 3. And he got fouled by Krauser. Colin Falls will shoot 3 free throws.
Damn.
Number 1 on Krauser.
Well, again, it came down to, we talked about the complementary players, being able to make up the difference. And here, once again, Carl Krauser gets caught by surprise as Falls goes off the screen. And the next time Falls touched the ball, he was able to get that shot.
And Krauser upset with himself because he knows that this is pretty much automatic. Falls coming into the game 44 for 47.
Trying to make me look bad.
The free throw line this season. Lattimore looking on for the bench. Again, Falls a great three-point shooter. As we mentioned, those numbers coming into the game today. Hardly ever hits a two. Does have one today. He'll knock down all 3 free throws and now go to the bench as Russell Carter returns.
That's why it's so important as a defender with a guy like Falls. You have to beat him to his spot. Make him go beyond
this guy
you.
talks a lot.
Go to the basket. Far less dangerous inside the arc than beyond it.
58-53 Pittsburgh. These two teams
You're far
will meet
less
again
dangerous
in
not
South
talking
Bend
than talking.
to close out the regular season. Pittsburgh's got a torturous schedule the rest of the way. Troutman, double team. Up and over Francis, giving him every move in the boot. And now took a shot from Francis after the basket, holding his left ear as he goes back down the floor.
But you know, Siobhan Troutman is one of those kinds of guys that's a wake-up call more than anything else. He doesn't mind the banging. Knows better than to retaliate. Just plays solid D.
Fournette, another three, knocks this one down. Another assist for Chris Thomas. Fournette now with 10.
Seems like Notre Dame was trying to follow the script that West Virginia followed last week.
Just keep shooting, they'll eventually go in.
That's right. Taking from beyond the arc, trying to trade 3 for 2.
West Virginia took 43s in that overtime win against Pittsburgh last weekend. Troutman loses it out of bounds.
Talk about the strengths of Siobhan Troutman again. It's the upper body strength. Good
Come
moves
on,
right
man.
there as Francis is holding, grabbing.
That's crazy. It's a foul. What's up, Andy? Next up. Positive energy.
Having a terrific senior season.
And I mentioned it before. You talked about all those quality
give me cookies
in this conference, but nobody has meant more to their team's rise than Siobhan Troutman.
Falls long on the three. The rebound to Graves. Looking for help. McCarroll for 3. Enter in Francis with the rebound. McCarroll getting more minutes because Chris Tapp is just not playing well enough today to get on the floor. Jamie Dixon's had him out for a long time. Thomas into traffic.
That time Crowder really closed in on Falls and didn't give him any daylight. And that's what the Pittsburgh defense has done thus far.
Yeah, good D, y'all.
Coming very quickly there. Thomas on the drive. Notre Dame swings it again. Still can't get a shot on. Now Thomas wide open in the
Good help
corner.
and recover, man.
Carroll the rebound.
That's excellent ball movement by Notre Dame. That time they used the Pittsburgh aggressiveness against them, got him out of position, and found Chris Thomas, who just couldn't knock it down.
And Jamie Dixon has called a 30-second timeout. Pittsburgh leading by 4. 4:23 to go. Before they got to the Peterson Event Center, the Pittsburgh Panthers called Fitzgerald Fieldhouse home. And back in January of 2002, the last loss that they suffered in that old building was to Notre Dame. David Graves with a couple of threes for the Irish. Chris Thomas, a freshman during this season. Pittsburgh had one last chance to tie it, but Jerron Brown missed on the three. Notre Dame wins 56-53. After that game, Pittsburgh would start a 40-game home court winning streak. The end of Fitzgerald and then into Peterson Event Center, and it would not lose at home until they lost to Syracuse last season. Now later today, ESPN continues with a full slate of college basketball. Presented by Cisco Systems, we'll take you to the Atlantic 10. Richmond and GW coming up next, and then at 4 Eastern, Michigan State and Ann Arbor to take on the Wolverines. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. We hope those games are as entertaining as this one has been. Pittsburgh trying to hold off the Irish and protect their home court. Krauser fouled by Jordan Cornette.
Hey, what up, Andy?
Done if it's Jordan Cornette.
Please,
Or
man.
did they give it to Quinn reaching in? It is Jordan Cornette. And he has fouled out of the game.
Fouled him out.
Yeah,
Yeah, smart play, man.
Crowder he sees at the top and sees isolated on the big fella.
Got the big on me. I got to attack, baby.
He can break down guards his size, let alone the 6'9" guy. You see the hand check right there? And the attempt by Cornette to block the shot. Really tried
Put
to
that
play
elbow
honest
in the
right there,
face.
but Krauser
Clear some space.
kind of created the contact situation.
So the Irish lose their
Put
best
the elbow
post
in the
defender and a guy who's shooting the ball from outside pretty well today. Knocked down some threes. Lattimore has returned. Krauser misses the first
Come
free
on,
throw.
Magic.
Pittsburgh not a very good free throw shooting team. although Krauser is at 78%. Pittsburgh just 66% of the season.
Look at me bleeding for the youth. Look at me bleeding for the youth. Bleeding for Pitt. Look at this.
11 for Krauser, 5-point lead for the Panthers, 4 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And Lattimore is fouled from behind. Chevy Troutman whistled for the foul. That'll put Pittsburgh over the limit, and we'll have Lattimore at the line when we return for the final 3:57. When we come back on the other side of the break, Scott Reese will give you an update on Illinois in action.
Illinois hosting with
toughest tests.
When you look at the score of that game here in Illinois against Wisconsin, and you see Wisconsin playing their tempo of basketball. And you look at that schedule, Iowa is one of those teams capable of controlling tempo. They did it at Champaign the last time those two teams played. So obviously at home, that could be a bit of a trap for the Illini as well.
Lattimore misses the front end. And the Irish can ill afford to let any opportunities at the line slip away. Down 5, under 4 minutes to go. Jordan Cornette has fouled out for Notre Dame. A steal by Thomas. He's got Falls with him. Falls sneaks to the corner. Somebody must have gotten a finger on that. Chevy Troutman, and now look at the big fellow running the floor.
Again, closing out on the shooters. Pittsburgh more aware of where Thomas, Quinn, and Falls are and making it tough on them.
Krauser playing with a cutlet, Troutman back in. We have not seen Taft in a long time for Pittsburgh. He doesn't have a field goal today, just 1 point. Corinne Francis does not have a field goal for Notre Dame. He's got just 1 point.
Pittsburgh going to the delay game.
Krauser to Gray. Knocked out of bounds, and it's Notre Dame ball with exactly 3 minutes to play.
But when you play defense like this, obviously you got to be pleased, particularly against a team that really hasn't hit that many. Actually, Troutman just bothered him. Really didn't get anything on the ball. That was just a plain old air ball, as the crowd reminds Colin Falls.
Corinne Francis out, Rick Cornette into the game and out for the Irish.
And then on the offensive end, that last possession, you can see Pittsburgh now trying to milk the clock a little bit. Go through 3, 4, 5 passes before getting it into Krauser's hands. And again, when you have a creator like Krauser and you're in a milk the clock situation, you've got an advantage.
Quinn the pull-up for the baseline. Big shot for Chris Quinn, who's now got 18.
And that's the way you got to work it. Again, fundamentally sound, putting it on the floor, a couple of dribbles, getting the defense on their heels.
McCarroll tips it ahead, but Pittsburgh turns it over. That shot by Quinn.
All of this because we don't want to give me the ball.
Two-pointer for the Irish here in the second half.
And Pittsburgh very surprised at a full-court pressure. They got to expect it.
Quinn again. Back-to-back buckets for Quinn, who's got 20.
It always happens like this when they try to prove they can win without me.
Got an advantage. Ramon listed at 6'1". I think he, with that hair, he might have. But Quinn with those long arms, confident he can shoot over Ramon.
A game of runs and a game of comebacks for both teams here today. Another steal. Quinn knocks it away. The jump stop, the layup, and Chris Quinn has given the Irish the lead with 6 consecutive points. Remember what we said Mike Bray told us yesterday in practice. He might look like a kid from down the street, like the kid from next door or a choir boy, but he'll cut your heart out if he gets the chance.
And the exhortation for Chris Quinn to get aggressive. Obviously right here you see him in a one-on-one situation. The pull-up jump shot, very difficult to guard. And then he just plays a passing lane. Poor decision by Ronald Ramon. And there's a little jump stop right now. Chris Quinn showing everything he's got in his trick bag.
A season-high 22 for the junior from Dublin, Ohio. Chris Quinn, and as you mentioned, Mike Bray also told us the more aggressive and assertive Quinn is, the less that Chris Thomas feels like he has to do everything all by himself, and then Thomas plays within himself.
And when you combine the two of them, you find less turnovers, better decisions by both.
Thomas and Quinn have combined for 38 points, 9 assists, and 1 turnover here today. Now it's Pittsburgh's opportunity to respond to the challenge after a 6-0 run by the Irish.
And Notre Dame goes to that 2-3 zone, looking to try to cut Krauser's capability of penetrating.
Krauser for three. Knocks it down.
Oh, Magic. I'm a fucking king. I'm a fucking king. I'm a fucking legend. Fuck guy.
Will live for the opportunity to make the big play in the last couple of minutes of a close game.
Chicken cheese.
What a game we've had here today in Pittsburgh. Falls uses a screen. Rick Cornett, the offensive rebound. Look out. He hesitated with the ball, and as a result, turned it over.
Let's go.
Troutman.
That's intentional.
Let's go. Huh? Who is it? It's your king. Who is it?
Let him get to the basket.
Let's go.
But you can't intentionally foul because now you got shots and Pittsburgh maintains possession.
Man.
Take a look right here. Loose ball situation.
my
Thomas
general.
never really comes up with the aggressiveness of Carl Krauser. Willing to bang bodies and then able to get possession clear to Von Troutman, and from behind, Rick Cornett fouls. Huge
Bloody
mistake
mouth,
by Rick
everything.
Cornett.
Look at this
I
shit.
think it was really Cornett's hesitation with the ball at the other end that made it difficult for Thomas to receive the pass. Cornett came up with the offensive rebound and kind of didn't know what to do with it, and Thomas was so close to him, he was a bit surprised by the pass.
But it's also a combination. Also, Chris Thomas, in that situation, has the corral possession first. He tried to dribble out of there before really getting possession, giving Krauser a chance to deflect.
Troutman 71% of the season.
You know, we've talked about this young man and the hard work he's put in. This is another area of improvement. When Siobhan Troutman started, he was shooting the 50s when he started with Pittsburgh.
They've still got a three-point lead, and because it was an intentional foul, they've still got the ball as Mike Gray calls a timeout. This is the way the Big East has been all season. You take the top 7 teams, and you throw them all in a hat. Georgetown beating this team by 2. BC winning this by 1. Notre Dame winning this game by 1. That's the way it's been all season, and that's the way it looks like it's going to be all season in the Big East. Well, there have been a lot of great games in this rivalry, but 2 years ago at Notre Dame, this was as good as any. Brandon Knight's 3 tied it up with 35 seconds left, and it looked like the game was going to overtime until Chris Thomas found Turin Francis with 6/10 of a second left as the Irish won that game 66-64. That was 2 years ago, the last time Notre Dame defeated Pittsburgh. Our Cisco Systems game track today. Notre Dame living on the 3 until Chris Quinn took over recently. They hadn't had a 2-point field goal in the second half. And how about Gray and Ramon, some of the complimentary players for Jamie Dixonland stepping up large today.
And they certainly need it. Obviously, 5 guys that they put out there are pretty consistent, but at this pace, they've got to have guys off the bench that can give them a lift, especially when you get down to the crunch time situation.
Both teams in the bonus. Pittsburgh in the double bonus, and now Troutman is going to shoot 2 more. Number 4 on Lattimore. As mentioned, the Irish have already committed 10 fouls, so it's 2 shots the rest of the way for Pittsburgh. The arrow favors Notre Dame, each team with a timeout remaining.
And I'll tell you what else. You look at this strategy right now. With 1 minute and 3 left, and Mike Gray has resorted to fouling, he's more than willing to trade 2 free throws for a 3-point shot, and that's something Notre Dame obviously has been very capable of in this game. That's what's kept them in this game.
And maybe 3 for 1. Pittsburgh continues to struggle and split their free throws. Second worst free throw shooting team in the Big East, but as Len mentioned, they have been better their last 4 or 5 games. They'll be tested here in the last minute. And we've got a violation, so Troutman never even gets a chance. So Pittsburgh gets nothing out of that trip, and the Irish can tie. How many times can momentum shift in one basketball game?
Obviously, we haven't seen the last of Big Mo going from side to side.
Thomas hands it off, and Quinn will operate the offense this trip. He's had a huge game. Ramon, he's got some quick hands. Shot clock at 18. Quinn for the tie. Got it! 25 for Quinn.
And the mistake Pittsburgh made was to help out on Chris Thomas.
Tough shot.
You know, Ronald Ramon isolated on Thomas by himself. Siobhan Troutman had Chris Quinn and left him.
Quinn has tied his career high with 25. A 6-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Carl Krauser with the ball. Who else if you're Pittsburgh? And now Jamie Dixon will use his last time out.
Bronx Dad, respect my journey. The world respect my journey. What up, Bronx Dad? Hybrids.
Again, we talked about Siobhan Troutman switching off on Chris Quinn. And then leaving him. Here's Troutman right there. He's right here. You see Quinn waiting for the ball, and Troutman gets screened off, paying too much attention to Chris Thomas. You can't leave the shooters. You can't even help on the shooters.
Quinn with 25 points today. He's made his last 7 shots, and that last 3 brings the Irish back into a tie. As we check out the remainder of the schedule for Pittsburgh, we showed you earlier their strength of schedule is not very good. Not a tough schedule out of conference, and kind of a backloaded Big East schedule. 4 tough road games at Syracuse, at Villanova, at BC, at Notre Dame. They host Connecticut and they host West Virginia. The Mountaineers have already beaten them. That is a tough road the rest of the way for Pittsburgh.
And particularly those road games, that's what magnifies the importance of this particular game, taking care of business at home.
8 lead changes and 3 ties in this game here today. Pittsburgh's got the ball, 17.2 on the game clock, 12 on the shot clock, and the Panthers no timeouts remaining.
Well, you can expect Notre Dame to go to that 2-3 zone. That's really been difficult for Pittsburgh to solve right now. It takes away the ability of Carl Krauser to penetrate, which is a higher percentage offensive opportunity for Pittsburgh than for Krauser to settle for the 3.
Krauser, Ramon, Graves, Troutman, and McCarroll in the game. Taft has been AWOL about the last 14, 15 minutes. Has not played in a long time. Krauser using the screen, got the switch. Got into the lane and got it.
Let's fucking go, Magic. Oh my gosh. Respect my journey, man. Respect my journey.
Thomas underneath. Cornette is fouled. Rick Cornette is fouled and will go to the line. And Rick Cornette on the season, cover your ears if you're a Notre Dame fan, is 5 for 19 coming into today as a free throw shooter.
Well, first of all, again, knowing Krauser's ability to penetrate, you gotta play the zone.
That's a fucking and one, man. They're not gonna give me no calls, and I'll take it. Yeah, you see me?
The long guy in the
I'm a nut ball. You see me? King.
But knowing how this season is going, the 2 bottom guys for Pittsburgh, Troutman and Gray, better be aware of blocking out.
It's good, man. Peace.
The Notre Dame gets an opportunity.
And Mike Gray will use his final timeout. He just went big with Cornette, Lattimore, and Francis all in the game at the same time. So Francis and Lattimore will be looking for the offensive rebound. And right now, do you tell him to miss, or do you just assume he's going to miss? What does Mike Gray tell his team about how to play this?
Well, what he's going to do is he's going to cover both options. On a miss, and if they get the rebound, this is what we have to do. We got to foul somebody, and they want to determine who they're going to foul. You know, on a make, you want to set up your defense. Pittsburgh's had trouble with the pressure. They're going to try for 1 steal, and then they got to foul. Bottom line is, though, you assume that he's going to make it, but in your heart, you probably know he's not. Yeah.
Both teams out of timeouts right now. 4.3 seconds left. If McCarroll comes down to the rebound, he's as bad a free throw shooter as Cornette is, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go back a little bit. Carl Krauser loves having the ball in his hands for this crunch time.
Well, he certainly does, and he loves playing against a man-to-man. They're on the switch-off. It's Lattimore that has to step up. And once again, it's that tough individual matchup. Off of a screen, all of a sudden Krauser gets a big guy guarding him, and Krauser knows what to do with it when he's got a slower guy playing him off the bounce.
Pittsburgh leading by 2. Cornette badly missed the first. Neither team with a timeout left. The Irish have the arrow. Kendall has come back into the game along with Gray and Troutman. Now both coaches are going as big as they can because everybody's valuing the rebound on the expected miss of the free throw.
Now, if Mike Gray told Cornette to miss on purpose, can you imagine he'll probably make it?
And he does. Falls will come back in. Cornette will go out. Ramon will come back in for Pittsburgh.
Here's what you try against this full court man-to-man now. You don't want to zone it up. Too many gaps for a guy to receive. Can't afford to let him receive. You try for the steal, and if you foul in the process, so be it.
And Ramon gets free, and 1.8 seconds comes off the clock, so they're down to 2.5, and Ramon's a very good free throw shooter.
Now, Ramon got open because of a screen set. In that situation, you got to switch. You can't allow a guy to receive the ball that cleanly and get a bounce and take precious time off the clock if you Notre Dame.
Well, the intensity on the coaches' faces is something else, too, as the officials are trying to tell Jamie Dixon and Mike Gray, get back to your benches. We got it all figured out here.
No, y'all don't.
Ramon, 80% on the season. Even if he makes them both, the Irish could conceivably tie it if they could get a three.
Oh.
How many times in recent years have Pittsburgh fans watched their team struggle to make free throws?
Well, they should be used to it right now, but again, they were a bit spoiled over the last several games.
That's why they should get a ball to the start.
Guys like Crowder stepped up to the line, Troutman, and drained critical free throws.
There are no timeouts remaining. Francis out, Cornell. Kendall back into the game for Pittsburgh. Ramon trying to make it a 2-point game.
Here you could be really gutsy and miss on purpose, try to keep the ball alive if you had everybody down.
Makes it.
First pass, you want to try to get the half court if you can.
You got to find a guard if you can. Off the fingertips of Thomas, Pittsburgh hangs on for the win. What a game here at the Peterson Event Center today. As Pittsburgh defeats Notre Dame 68-66. Carl Krauser with the big bucket in the last minute of the game, and it's just enough to hold up as the winner.
I'll tell you what, again,
Let's fucking go. Are we live? What up, family? Let's go, man. Yeah, tune on, man. Tune into that joint. Let's go.
A career performance by Chris Quinn goes for naught. Chris Thomas loses in this building for the third consecutive year, and Pittsburgh hangs on. They go to 7-3 in the league. Notre Dame drops to 6-5. Again, the final from Pittsburgh, the Panthers 68, the Irish 66. Coming up next, Rivalry Week presented by Cisco Systems continues. Richmond taking on GW. This has been a presentation of ESPN.